So, hello everyone. Welcome to this session with Zohar Lavie. These daily meditations that we will be exploring together this week. Lovely to see, as always, the community gathering together, coming together to practice. And feel the warmth in the chat as we come together in this way to explore our lives, to explore this human experience. Those of you who may not know me, my name is Zohar. I'm one of the teachers who offer these sessions in the mornings, and feel my heart very glad to be here with you and to welcome all of you to this space. Just checking in that sound is working, that you can hear me clearly enough. If you can just give me a thumbs up in the chat, that would be helpful to know that all is going well. I think at least with that aspect of our time together. Wonderful. And some of you may be aware I'm joining you today, offering the session today from Palestine, Israel, just south of Tel Aviv this morning here on what is a slightly showery morning. Unusual but not unwelcome at this time of year. And as always, thank you for those some thumbs up. That's really helpful. The session today will include some short reflections and then some time for meditating together, and the opportunity for some questions and responses towards the end. And I'll speak more about that when we get towards that part. So our theme this week is kind of, maybe we can say, the theme of Dharma teachings in many ways, and how can we meet the wholeness of our lives, the entirety of our lives, with interest, with gentleness, with presence, and with an appropriate response. How that possibility to acknowledge the different aspects of our experience, the joys and the sorrows, the ups and the downs, what we want and what we don't want, how to acknowledge that with a sensitivity and a care, so that our well-being isn't dependent on what is arising in experience so much as in how we're responding, how we're meeting it. And so this thing that you may be familiar already if you've practiced with me before, with my partner Nathan, that we like to say that when there's an experience, remembering, when there's an experience, there's something that we're paying attention to, and there's a way of relating to that something. So those are there. And when we remember this, the what and the how of the attention, it opens up a lot of possibilities for us. And if we reflect on our own experience and also what we see with other humans, with other beings, we can see that when we perceive something as painful, unpleasant, it becomes unwanted, and we relate to it through rejection. We really have this, we share this with all beings, even like they say amoebas, can recoil from unpleasant stimulation and reach out, which is what we respond to when we perceive something as pleasant. We reach out, we try to hold on, we try to get more of it, we try to make it last. And this happens on many levels, from the subtle levels to the gross levels. So we can often see it in the gross, how we push away, yeah, what we feel is unwanted, what we feel is unpleasant or painful, and then how we try to grab onto and hold on to that which we think is pleasant. And sometimes we speak about this as that movement of pushing and pulling on experience. Yeah, pushing away what we don't want, pulling towards us what we think we do want, based on just very minimal perceptions. And this creates a friction with our experience. It creates a lot of agitation, creates a lot of movement, and a friction, which is another layer of dukkha. It's another layer of ill-being. It's another layer of creating difficulty. Yeah. And so, we can sometimes see when we really look at our experience how our habitual tendencies, the way we habitually relate to our experience, is with this extra layer of friction, extra layer of demand, extra layer of pushing and pulling. And that intensifies the ill-being, the dukkha, the painful aspects of our lives. And just to kind of give an example from my own experience, being here right now, where there is really, I think this is always true for all of us. There's always pain and heartbreak around us. We might just not be aware of it. But then there's certain situations or conditions where it's more apparent, and places where there's war, places where there's conflict, places where there's injustice, places where there's oppression. We can feel and see it more. And so, reflecting on my own experience being here, and there's so much pain around, there's so much heartbreak around. And I can, I'm really listening to how I'm meeting that. So then maybe someone may be telling me a story that is really, difficult to hear, or I'm around people who are really suffering, and I'm witnessing that. And the kind of that sense of the shrinking in, you might see what I'm doing with my body when we hear that. And that sense of that, it's too much. I don't want that. Yeah. And hearing that, internally, here it is. And then turning internally and seeing how is it impacting the body? How is it impacting the heart and mind, the sense of space, the sense of ease? And that kind of friction and contraction that builds up. And then remembering, and this is the value of the practice, what else is possible? How can I meet it differently? How can I meet this differently? And, a phrase I love, that I use a lot, is just that acknowledgement. It's like this now. Just acknowledging this hurts. It's like this now. And it hurts. This hurts. There's pain in the meeting. And then instead of armoring, instead of shrinking, instead of contracting, the capacity to breathe with that pain. And I'm talking about the internal experience right now. I wouldn't say to somebody else, it's like this now, around their pain, but it's internally. It's like this now in the meeting. It's painful. And breathing with it, breathing into it, and allowing myself, inviting myself to meet it, and to let it be the painfulness in the meeting, letting it be there. And it's very, very interesting, because from that habitual contracting, the habitual trying to close off, to protect and to armor, which actually creates more dukkha a lot of the time, more ill-being, more suffering. Just that acknowledgement is like this now. It's allowed to be here. This heartbreak, it's allowed to be here. And doing that, is an essential and crucial step for any transformation. If we want to bring change, if we want to ease suffering in ourselves or in another, that layer of allowing is so crucial, so important. sometimes that's all that's possible. Yeah. It's just acknowledging. Yeah. It's like this now. Oh, this hurts. Sometimes it's all that is needed, interestingly enough, to just relax and ease. Um, and sometimes it's a crucial layer so that we can respond further. So it's a building block, a step. And I really want to emphasize that. Sometimes we talk about allowing and acceptance as a practice, and we can get a sense of that's the goal. That's all we need to do. Just accept. And it's like, no, when we're facing, the pain of the world, when we're facing injustice and oppression, we want to do more. Also, if it's just we're facing, a painful thing for ourselves or another, we might want to do more than just accept, if that's possible. But the acceptance and the allowance that it's like this now. Yeah, really important. And just notice the now there. It's like this now, not it's like this, period. Yeah. It's like this now. Yeah. In this moment, this is how it's appearing. Can I breathe? Can I breathe with this? And I really want to emphasize also not underestimating the power of this possibility, of the acknowledgement, it's like this now. And then, sometimes I have this question that follows when I feel, okay, I've allowed, I've kind of relaxed with this, and what now? Or what next? Yeah, just the aligning. And so a lot of the time for me, if I'm internally meeting an experience that is related to somebody else's pain, then, obviously compassion, self-compassion and other compassion. But not only, And interesting to see the compassion can arise naturally, just as a natural response, because when we contact pain without that pushing away, the difficulty, compassion arises very naturally. But we can also incline to it, as I said, self-compassion, other compassion. And wanting also to just share, an example of this. It's like this now. And now what? Or what's next? From some of my Palestinian friends, and particularly one who really embodies it. He says it a lot, and he was just saying that to us on Friday and Saturday when we were working with him. And he was saying, it's so many of the people in the village are just going into despair. They're afraid to go to their lands because of the hassle from the military and the settlers. And so they don't go, and the slope to despair is easy. And he says, I know this for myself. The slope to despair is easy. But I acknowledge, it's like this now. If I go to my land, I don't know what kind of day I will have. And I may get harassed and I may get hassled. And sometimes I might get hurt also. But going is important. And so it's important, and he acknowledges it's important for his well-being in the moment rather than staying at home helpless and not doing and falling into despair. And it's also important in the long term for his own well-being and for the kind of care for the land and for the relationship with the land over time. But I really just that kind of thing, that, as I said, he's been saying a lot over the last 7 months. And more and more that's becoming clear. The acknowledgement, it's like this now. It's difficult. It's frustrating. It's heartbreaking. It's unfair. And there's not much that I can do to fight this system. But what I can do is not give up. That's what he's saying. What I can do is just keep going and get up in the morning and get on the donkey and go to the land and work. And that supports my well-being. I'm speaking on his behalf. And that supports that which I wish to see in the world, which is sanity and freedom and respect. And so just kind of carrying on doing that. So hopefully that's an inspiration for us in our practice. And I'd like us to practice now. We'll take about half an hour with this practice, which I will guide, but in a nutshell, I'm going to say we can just see it as a practice of meeting our experience and acknowledging it's like this now. It's like this now. And you can play with the tone because that can also have meaning for us. So if you're not already in a comfortable posture, then please find one. And taking some moments to settle into your posture. So whether you're just coming into it now or you may have been in your meditative posture for a while, taking this opportunity to check in. And to make any adjustments that are needed so that the body is as supported, stable, and steady as possible. Inviting the awareness into the body, inviting it more fully, more deeply into the body, maybe using the sensations of contact between the body and that which supports the body, the mat, the seat, the earth. And gathering the awareness, the attention with the sensations of contact. Letting them collect, gather, root into these sensations. Letting awareness rest into that contact. Feeling the body rest into that contact. Sometimes we can play with expanding the sense of contact to a sense of the whole base of the body, like the base of a mountain. Feeling that rootedness. And from that rootedness, letting the awareness open and rise up, leading the whole body. Both rooted, grounded, spacious in the contact areas, and open, spacious, expansive through the whole body. So feeling this whole body space, the groundedness and rootedness and the contact with the support for the body, seat, ground, mat. Opening to choose an anchor for your attention. Whatever is a useful, accessible anchor for you. Might be the breath for many of us. Might be the body, just as we've been doing till now. Groundedness and openness. If the body and breath are not comfortable or accessible anchor for attention, we can use the sounds. So through the practice, we'll be keeping, if possible, the awareness in the body, both grounded and open and spacious. And within that space, opening to, allowing presence, the movement and the flow of the anchor. Whether that's the breath, the sense of the body, or the sounds, whichever one you choose for this time of practice together. Gently attending to that anchor, to the flow of the breathing. To the details of the breathing, for example, as it moves through awareness and through the body. Gently attending. So let's practice quietly in this way for a little while. Awareness grounded and open, allowing, receiving flow and movement of the anchor of attention through awareness. Interest and gentleness in attention. Gently noticing what you notice in this moment of experience. Opening to this moment of experience and allowing it to show itself. It's like this now. In this moment, it's like this now. Whatever we find, pleasant or unpleasant, wanted or unwanted, distraction or gatheredness, it's like this now. Resting more fully into this moment of experience. Remembering the body. Grounding and opening more fully and deeply. Attuning, attending to the anchor of attention. Bringing interest to it as you acknowledge. It's like this now. Whether the anchor is easy to be with or more elusive. Whether the heart mind is more still or more agitated. Like this now. As often as needed, remembering. Noticing the possibility to allow that way of relating to come deep. Not just a superficial acknowledgement, but a deeper and deeper opening to and resting with. It's like this now. what's unfolding in experience right now. Pausing to notice and to acknowledge. It's like this now. Whatever it is, however it is, it's like this. Grounding in the body, resting to this possibility to allow experience to be, opening to spaciousness through the practice, through the body. We're the anchor of attention, as with distractions. It's like this now. Again and again. Again and again. right now in this moment. This moment. It's like this now. Opening to meet and to feel for the last few minutes of our practice. What happens when we allow this to be whatever this is. Presence with the anchor of attention, as well as with the so-called distractions, skillfully guiding attention into restfulness, into presence, acknowledging, allowing, even as we guide the attention towards more restfulness, more presence, more gatheredness with the anchor of attention. In a moment, the bell will ring, not rushing. Then two, allowing yourself to meet the experience, to allow it, to rest with it. It's like this now. And taking your time to, if you wish, come out of meditation, move the body, open the eyes, but there's actually no pressure at all with that. If you feel like carrying on with the practice, then please do. And as we transition, I would like to just share some reflections on dana practice. As many of you know, maybe all of you, these sessions are offered freely in the spirit of dana, which means freely offered. There's no fixed price to attend. And it's a kind of acknowledgement of this possibility for all of us, and the possibility to participate, to offer, to give, in order to make these sessions possible. And whatever you offer through this week of teachings will be shared between Zohar Lavie and myself to cover the costs of the platform and everything that it takes to make these sessions possible from the practical tech side. and also to support me in offering them. So I've just put the link in the chat there. And we have time now, for some questions. If there's any questions, I will do my best to respond. It can also be reflections that you offer. And the way to do that is to put them into the chat. If you start them off with the word question in capital letters, that allows me to identify them in the chat more quickly and to know that they're for me and they are kind of asking for a response. So let's see if anything comes. Any reflections, any questions on the practice, on the teachings that I offered this morning. I also will take this opportunity while we're seeing if anything comes up to suggest, ways you can practice with this through the day. Just having that sense, even when you might feel like you're rushing or you might feel like some discomfort around something or some joy also, and seeing if we can just drop in this sense of, it's like this now, to kind of help us come to a more intimate, more full meeting with our experience and kind of embody it more. It's almost like we're sitting more fully and more deeply into what is unfolding for us. And it can be beautiful to do and to see the impact. Sometimes if there's a lot of momentum in the heart mind, whether, like I said, it might be agitation, it might be sadness, we might need to just keep repeating it. Like as we keep dropping in, as we do, we just have a moment of presence and then woof, it goes again, and another moment, it goes again. So I'm just to remind you, please, if you have questions or reflections, they're really welcome in the chat. I'm just kind of sharing some reflections as we're waiting to really kind of make the most of this time together. But yeah, everything is really welcome in this space, and it can also be more general questions about practice if you wish. Reflection from Clive. Thank you. Thank you for your powerful story of your Palestinian friend who's able, in the midst of so much, to get up and go to the land. Yeah, he really is an inspiration. On Saturday, when we were with him, actually Nathan was with him with a few others, and I was with another farmer, and he was kind of sharing that, that sense of it's like this now, and that knowing of what is wholesome. It's wholesome to keep going, it's wholesome to keep working. And on his t-shirt in English, it said, "Every day is a fresh start." And Nathan said to him, "Do you know what your t-shirt says?" And he didn't know, he doesn't read English. And then through some of the Hebrew speakers in the group explained what it says. Every day is a fresh start. And he was really moved by it. And then when I met him later, he kind of pointed to his t-shirt and said to me, "Do you see what this says?" And it was a very beautiful moment. But we can say, really, that sense of acknowledging what is present right now allows us to make a fresh start, allows us to begin again. It allows us, as Kevin has put in from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, one of the greatest inspirations of our time, don't give up. Just keep going. And keep, but also that freshness, it's not just keep going through the motions, but also the freshness, of like going and working, going and doing. And of course, if we just take the inspiration of this particular friend, this is something he's cultivated his whole life. He's 59 now. It's just his birthday a few days ago. And his whole life, he's cultivated this, like, keep going, you know, just like don't let uh, life get you down, you know. But you know, just like do something, you know. This is part of that kind of acknowledging and acting, acknowledging and moving. And we can say for us as practitioners, it's really so much about that, you know, to keep cultivating the wholesome, which we do through just simple presence, like we're doing today. We're cultivating not the kind of not getting pulled into the momentum of reactivity, um, and then cultivating something different. And that's one thing we're already doing. Plus, we're opening the possibilities for more. So it can be so helpful to see how, even at times of really a lot of difficulty, crisis, maybe personally, suddenly globally, um, for us on this planet nowadays. Um, yeah, they say that quote from Nathan. How there's always something we can do, you know, but also how that cultivation of just presence, and then what opens up, you know. So sometimes we feel there's not much we can do, but just that softening, that presence with our experience. Yeah, and there's a reflection there from Claire. Thank you. Right now, there's sadness for me around a particular experience. And during the practice, as you guided, many other sadnesses from past, personal, or present global situation come in too. So the sadness grows alongside a tenderness. How to be with this? Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. So I'll offer a few things, Claire, and that's a really beautiful reflection and question. So the first thing I'll say, and I'll come back to it, but I just want to highlight it. You're saying alongside a tenderness. The sadness is growing, but there's also a tenderness. So one thing I'll say is let's kind of investigate that tenderness. Yeah, and I'll come back to it in a few moments. Um, Another way of being with this, which maybe I didn't emphasize enough, is through the body. So what happens is that, you know, a particular experience arises and there may be a story attached to it, and our mind and heart will go to the story, it will go to the narrative. Which is a very useful thing to do a lot of the time, but particularly when we're practicing, we actually want to meet it more on the felt sense level. So maybe in the body, or in the emotional resonance in the body, rather than the narrative, rather than the story. And so that can both keep it with a particular experience, or if it grows with the resonance of other things from the past or from the world, and that are similar, we're meeting it in the resonance in the body, and that can be kind of less overwhelming with sadness. It's just one sadness, you know, it's just one sadness, which is also something we can take from the experience. So body, really use the body, and opening and softening the body space, really helpful. I mentioned this kind of sense of a habitual way with the friction is also to get smaller. And if we can open, it's okay, there's space here. And then what else is there with the sadness? There's a tenderness. And what's that tenderness? That's a flavor of compassion. Yeah, that's a flavor of compassion that we can tune into, align with, and rest into, and let that hold the sadness. So sometimes with sadness, there's a fear that it will be too much, but we can tune into the compassion, the tenderness, the body, and let that hold um, our experience. Yeah. So I see there's lots of very supportive quotes. Open the palm of attention. There's never nothing we can do. Yeah, that's from Nathan. Yeah, another beautiful Lewis, another moment of the same quote. Yes. Yeah. And a beautiful quote there from Kevin. I don't know from whom, but very, very beautiful. Yeah. And learn to hold the pain and still be present for others and for yourself. Yeah. So seeing it as a learning also. And there's a question from Amit. I'm going to respond to that. I just want to say it's a Holocaust Memorial Day in Israel today, and at 10 o'clock, there's like it sounds like a siren. It's just a time where people stand and remember for a minute. So if that happens before we come to a close, that's in less than 2 minutes time. Don't worry, it's not an air raid. I just want to say that. And I'll respond to Amit's question. I'm finding myself in a rather stale moment in my practice. I know already there are times that are like this, but wonder if you have thoughts on how to skillfully, it's like this now through it. Yeah, beautiful. So, yeah, I'm going to offer something. Let's see if it works. It's like this now, and letting that actually sometimes moments that are stale, that I'm doing this because they feel like we're on the kind of on the surface of things in a way. That's part of what comes. It's also something that happens. It's also very natural for people who are living through, even if you're not geographically in Israel, Palestine, but very close to what is going on, living through crisis in a traumatic field um, can happen. So what we want to use this practice in is as if like we're kind of nourishing the roots to go deeper down from that surface level, deeper down into our experience. And again, I would really do it through the body and let the it's like this now might be helpful with images. Imagine roots going down, or imagine the rain coming in and soaking more deeply down to the roots of your practice. And you can look at it in two ways, like that even these moments of presence are nourishing something deeper. So you're kind of having that perspective, that framework for it. Or actually you're going down deeper and getting connected to more, to deeper intentions or to a deeper aspect of your experience or your practice. So, yeah, there's the siren. So hopefully you're not hearing it. And if you are, you know what it is. Maybe it's a good moment to pause and to bring this to a close, just dedicating our practice at the end here to all beings who are suffering, all beings who are meeting difficult circumstances, including in their personal lives, including through the oppression of others towards them. And just dedicating our practice to that and honoring the nobility of our own practice and our deep wish for the transformation and ending of suffering of all. So thank you all for being here today, and go well. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully.